One of the ways to solve waste is through 5Sing. So that's what we're going to talk about next. So does any of this sound familiar? Like, where did my documents go? Is this being done by somebody else? Did you lose your pencil on your desk? Did you wonder which document has the latest letterhead? Spend time looking for parts that were just ordered? So all of that's a waste, right? And you can solve that by improving your process. So the goals of 5S are to reduce cost, right? So you're not building up 5 years of toilet paper out at the North Terminal. Increased efficiency. So when the gentleman 5S'd his truck, he was able to increase efficiency, right? Because he wasn't moving stuff around to get to what he needed. Standardization. So if he 5S'd his truck and everybody had the same type of 5S'ing in their vehicles, it would be a lot easier if he was out sick and somebody had to use his vehicle. They could easily find all the tools they needed to, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why standardization is so important. Cleanliness, just having clean tools and clean, you know, your desk is clean and you're not wiping off all the crumbs off of your desk onto your paperwork that you're writing on, right? Organization, just being organized, being able to find things. Visual order, we're going to talk more about visual indicators. Reduce your response time. So if it's easy to find something, you're able to respond a lot quicker to your customer, right? If a school calls and say, hey, I have a power outage, you have all the tools ready in your vehicle and you're ready to go out there and respond right away instead of, oh, I got to get this and I got to grab that, and now you're stocking your vehicle with the tools that you need when it should already be done and you would be able to service your customer a lot faster. And then improve process flow. Okay, so just simply by eliminating that waste improves your process. So here's the 5 S's, okay? And we'll go over them in detail. First we have sort, straighten, shine, standardize, and then sustain. Okay? Those are your 5 S's. Step 1 is sort. And you'll see right here, don't start big. When you're going to 5S something, start small. Start with your refrigerator or your closet, or like the gentleman did at our last meeting, he did his truck. So start somewhere small, someplace that you can control. And then identify the things that don't belong by red tagging. So let me get everybody here an example of what a red tag looks like. So you can see this is our actual maintenance bay at the West Terminal for our mechanics. And they started red tagging items. This is a red tag. It doesn't have to be the format I'm handing out to you, but the idea here is that you have a visual indicator of stuff that you don't need in that area. It could be repurposed to another area that probably needs it. It could be trashed. It could be donated. Whatever the case may be, you've identified it as not being in that area. It's not needed in that area. Okay? So there's a copy of the red tag. So my suggestion is that you have an area that you put all your red tag items in. So as you go through the refrigerator, you clean out all the items that you don't need anymore, your expired mayonnaise and your expired salad dressing and all the fruits and vegetables that are growing legs in there. All of that can be taken out, right? And you can red tag it. And you could say that it is whatever the item is. It's important to put the date on there and who tagged it out. For example, Matt went through the North Terminal, found a ton of filing cabinets that we don't need, right? But they could definitely be used in another department. So he red tagged them. So if somebody goes walking by, they know they need to contact Matt because he tagged it. Matt, can I have that filing cabinet? Sure. At least you're talking to the person that put it out there and identified it. All right, so the other part is the category. You know, is it electronics? Is it stationery? What is it? And that's important too, because if you go to trash electronics, you've got to do certain things. You've got to contact certain people to get the electronics disposed of, that type of thing, right? So it's important to know what you're disposing of, all right? And then the reason for the red tag. You don't need it. It's not required. It's damaged. It's scrap. It's obsolete, like the light bulbs. So whatever the case may be, you want to make sure it's identified. And then tape the red tag onto the item, or, you know, tie it on like Lance did in the maintenance area. just so that you have, when you walk by, visually you can see where your red tags are. And you know that item has already been dealt with. I'll tell you, my husband cleans our garage every weekend. Or he says he does anyway. And it's like one thing moves from this side to this side, and then it moves right on back again. Why is that? Because he never identified it as an item that needed to be trashed, or an item that needed to be put in the basement, or an item that's supposed to be in the house, right? If he doesn't do that piece of it, you're going to continue to fight that battle every single time you go to 5S something. So get it gone. You're not using it, get rid of it. Step 2 is straighten. So you're going to straighten out your area, right? You're going to organize it. Lance actually put down floor indicators so that people would know exactly where the stuff went. All right? Another good thing about this is it's a visual indicator. It tells you if something's missing on it here, right? If you've got a big gaping hole, you know you're missing one of these chargers or welders. Over here, same thing. They actually organized it all, and then they labeled it down here with the labels. So you knew what supplies you had and where to find them, right? So you're not walking all over the place trying to find batteries. You know they're right here in this supply cabinet.
Hey, Donna, can you go back to the before picture? So that's the before picture of the maintenance shop, and then go back to the after. And it's stayed like that for a long time, probably in the last 4 months since I've been here. Yeah.
And why is that? Because the guys know exactly where to put this stuff. And it becomes really cumbersome if you leave this out here in the middle of the floor. People are going to know you didn't put it back, right? Mm-hmm. It's a good accountability piece because you have that visual indicator of what's happening in this area. The other piece of this that you can't see is that there's a picture up here that actually shows what that area should look like and how many of these pieces of equipment are in that area. So it's pretty easy. This is where our welders go. We put them right here, and it's all outlined for you.
And if anybody remembers from the who was at the Cardinal Health visit, if you have a spot where your things need to be, you can have that water line that shows you when you need to refill. So that's why having an area labeled like that, you know, if it's there every time, you're going to know what your supply is every time, instead of, you know, like, oh, well, maybe I have more stuff over here or over there. Well, it's on one spot, so you'll know when you have to get more things.
So let's talk about Kanbans. Kanban is a visual indicator. This is actually a warehouse that I worked in, and you see how the pallets are outlined on the floor? So you have a new hire, you're teaching them how to warehouse, and you say, hey, go line up those empty pallets, okay? If you didn't have those indicators on the floor, you would have a hodgepodge of empty pallets everywhere, right? I mean, basically a new hire is just going to throw them down, and they're not going to be even, and you're not going to be able to walk around them. So this makes it a lot easier to train somebody. They know exactly where those empty pallets go. They also have a cart here that has all of their tools on it, and it's lined out inside that cart with a visual indicator that shows that your tape is here and your knife is here and that type of thing. So everything they need to do their job is right here. Great way to train new hires. It's a great way to hold your folks accountable. When you look at 5S'ing, you have to think, how would I train somebody who doesn't even speak English, right? How would I train somebody from a different country? Well, this is a great example right here, another visual indicator. This was at the airport. Okay, so we're an international airport, and of course we get people in who don't speak English or probably can't read that says paper, but they know they can't put a cup in there, right? So it forces them to do the right thing. That's another great thing about a visual indicator. It stops you from creating that defect. So think about that when you're going through 5S. What would stop somebody from, well, when you're doing your dishes and you take all the knives and forks out of the dishwasher and you put them in the drawer, do you have one of those cool cutouts that has the space for everything? You can't exactly put your forks where the spoons go, right? Stops you from doing the wrong thing. This was at Children's Hospital, and there's a lot of different bottles everywhere, and you know, you're dealing with little kids. Well, the kids knew that this was hand sanitizer because it had a hand on it. They knew that they weren't gonna put soap on or something like that. They knew that this was hand sanitizer. This is for my hand. Didn't go anywhere else, right? So when we talk about visual indicators, that's what we're talking about. Something that helps you train somebody, helps you improve your process so you don't create defects, and you would be able to explain it to somebody without even, I mean, if I told you to go throw away a newspaper, would you throw it away in this, or would you throw it away in that? So think about that when you look at visual indicators.
So how many people are visual learners? Pretty much everybody, right? Think about how long it takes to train somebody. If it's, I mean, I came from a manufacturing environment, you know, FDA regulated. It was blah, 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 blah. I mean, it was, you can understand what they were saying, but you go right next to the station, it had an exact picture of what your job was, exact picture of what the outlook should be, and then exact picture of what the next step would be. Helped with training, you know, immensely. So kind of think about that with visual indicators. It just allows an opportunity just to be able to engage a person, and they can see it, if not necessarily they can't read it.
That you saw that at Cardinal Health, those that went to Cardinal Health, the process of how to get a piece of equipment shipped out on UPS or FedEx. It had the paperwork, it had a picture of the paperwork, and then you went to the next step, and it had this and the next step. We did that with our tape machine when I worked at Office Depot, because people would catch their fingers in the tape machine, and you know, it's hard to change it out, and everybody would just throw up their hands. And well, we actually took a picture of each step, and from that point on, nobody ever had a problem with changing out the tape.
And something similar as our dispatch office, we actually put green arrows on the floor. Like I said, it's above and beyond. But when people would walk through, they're like, even though it said on the wall, step 1, step 2, step 3, they would go to step 4, and like they start doing this. They're like, hey, what are you doing? You're creating a traffic jam. Follow the yellow, and you follow the green stickers. And they did that, boom, you know, flowed really well. So it's just kind of those visual indicators just help people out. And a lot of times they don't have to think, because they see it, they absorb it that way.
All right, so shine is exactly what it says. Shine, clean the area, okay? If you clean the area, it's visually inviting, right? How many people would love to come home today and have your house be perfectly cleaned? You had a housekeeper come in and it's spotless when you walked in the door, right? How does that make you feel? Do you feel better about coming home? Do you feel better about leaving today because you know you're going home to a clean house and you don't have to do the dishes or the laundry, right? Well, think about our folks. If they walk into a clean environment, how do you think they feel? Do they feel better about their job? Do they feel better about the day? Or do they think, oh man, I don't want to sit in this corner because that's where all the spiders are, you know? Or I don't want to have to move all of this junk off of here because Fred ate his lunch at the desk again and now it's all over the place. You know, that's a frustration for our folks, right? And the idea behind Lean is to not only make it easier to understand, but to make it a happier environment for our people. So think about that when you think about cleaning. So this is an actual training station at our East Terminal. And I will tell you, the place was an absolute disaster when we first started this. Now it stays clean, because if it's clean and you walk into a clean environment, you're going to leave it clean, right? Chances are the majority of people will leave it clean because you don't want to be the one with the glaring mess sitting at the computer. So that's step 3, shine. Step 4 is standardize. So visually identify conditions that are out of order. Each workstation, work area, or piece of equipment should be set up the same across all departments. And then make it easy for everyone to maintain and standardize the process. Okay, so who has an idea of something that could be standardized throughout your departments? Nothing?
Well, in custodial, all the custodial offices or closets should be standardized. Same chemicals, same cards, set up the same way.
Excellent. That's an excellent point. And why is that so important?
No matter where you go, what area you, same equipment, same closet.
Yep. And the tools are right there, right? So if your tools are right there, it's easier to train somebody new. There's the supply cabinet. Everything you need to do it is right in there, right? And it's easy to move somebody. You know, if you had to have coverage and you had to move somebody over to cover for you in that area, training's so much easier. They already have all the tools they need, and they're not wandering around aimlessly looking for something. And another thing is, when tools are readily available for you to do your job, you're not going to order 5 months of toilet paper, right? You're not going to order all of these light bulbs. You have a confidence level that everything you need is going to be available to you. So you don't have that built up of inventory that starts stressing you out. Okay? This is an example of standardized. This is actually this is from Cardinal Health. And this is probably not a good visual indicator because that has to be standing up. But again, you know that a broom goes there, right? And you know that your other piece of equipment here, the scooper, goes there, and that over here, I think there was a duster or something. I mean, you know where to put it, right? You can't help but put it in the right place when you take something to use it. So when you put it back, you just can't possibly make an error. This was actually, wasn't this at Cardinal Health too? Mm-hmm. So papers and electronic files, standardizing this so that when you're looking for forms, it's always in the green. Or you're always looking for something to do with safety reporting, that's always in the yellow. Okay? So setting up your files so that they're standardized as well, right? Because O&M is a huge department. So if custodial is filing the same way as electrical or janitorial, whatever the case may be, it's all the same, right? If I'm looking for a form, I know that all I have to do is look in the yellow, and that's where our safety information is going to be. Okay? And last is sustain. So Lance did a great job at the West Terminal by setting up his shop so that it's sustainable, right? He has a picture of what it should look like. He outlined it on the floor. He monitors it, so his supervisors go out and monitor that to make sure that it's still in compliance, but it's sustainable. It has all of the tools where they're supposed to be all the time. And that's the key to 5S, because if you walk away and it gets trashed the minute you're gone, then it's not sustainable. So something you need to think about when you're going through 5S is how do you sustain it, right? I know for our garage situation, every time my husband cleans, I trash a bunch of stuff just so that it's sustainable and we don't have that moving and encroaching back into the garage so I can park my vehicle. So think about that. Also, as you start to get into this, and you can identify a checklist where you actually have an audit form. So maybe you have an audit form for your truck, and your foreman can come over and audit your truck for you so that you know, so that everybody knows that you're sustaining your 5S. It's especially important for your departments. So this is just an example of an audit form, and it has the sort, the straighten, shine, standardize, and sustain on it. And then when they were audited, they would get a rating from 1 to 5 on how well it was being maintained. And then that gives you a baseline of where you're at, right? So from a managerial standpoint, this is a great way to audit, right? It's a great way to hold your folks accountable. It's a great way to see where you're at. So, you know, it's refreshing to be able to tell Thomas, look, when we first started, we were at like a 10. We were way beyond the 5. And now we're like a 2. So you see the process improvement, right? You've seen the improvement that you've been able to gain through 5S. And that's important because why? You always want to celebrate the wins with your folks. You want to be able to speak to the wins. You want to be able to share that with them. Congratulations, you guys did a fantastic job 5S'ing this area. And you guys went from a 10 down to a 1 because you're just so great. Okay?
Something with this also too, just think about it in stages. I mean, you don't have to be at this level 2 weeks from now, but think about kind of stage 1. What do I need to do? You know, it's kind of that recruitment, get people educated on the process. And as you work through different stages, your ultimate goal is to get to a point where it's pretty methodical. And when you see stuff that need to make corrections, you can make it. But, you know, just don't hold somebody accountable tomorrow if they don't understand the whole process. So it's kind of the educational tool as you work through stage 1, think about what stage 2 would be, stage 3, and then work to the end where you're at the point where, you know, at Cardinal Health, I mean, it was a 2-year long process to go from where they were at to where they're at right now. And it's a journey. It's definitely a journey with 5S, just getting people engaged and understanding that in the long run, it actually helps you out a lot. If things are organized, things are sorted, something simple, if something's in your way all the time, you're moving it every day to get to it, why is it there? You start asking those questions, and I think that's where it started with, 5S can, have a tremendous impact on it. And it's proven too. I mean, a lot of industries use this, so.
So I just want to say to Matt's point, you may be in sort and straighten for 6 months. Because as you straighten and sort, people are going to say, oh my gosh, here's some room. We can put the toilet paper right here now, right? Mm-hmm. So you start to see those things start to encroach on your areas. And that's why you could be between sort and straighten and shine. And you actually literally revisit this 3 continuously. Yeah. And to Matt's point, it took Cardinal Health 2 years to get to the point where they could actually sustain it.
Yeah. One of the questions you ask yourself is this needed? Who is the stakeholder? And then is there a different way to do this? And you ask those 3 questions when you start approaching things, you can get through a lot of your sort and straighten really easy. Because a lot of times people are like, okay, I need a 5S. And it's just, I'm going to label, I'm going to label, I'm going to label. And they're like, okay, slow down, slow down. Why do you have that there? I don't know. Somebody told me to label. That's, it's not very good, Go back and figure out, do you need it? No, I never use it. I use it once every 3 months. Okay, put that in the cabinet. What do you use every day? Put it right here. Something as simple. My desk, I labeled my desk. I would not normally do that anywhere else, but it provides a talking point for people when they come in. But I have my to-do file right here. I have my calculator, I have my stapler, stuff I use every day, right where I need. Something I don't use every day, it's up in a cabinet. But it just provides that, do you need it or not? And just cleans the clutter out. So ask those questions. Do we need it? Is there a different way to store this? Electronic files, that kind of information. Just start asking those questions. So a lot of times we just start, like Donna said, we just start building clutter because I may need it. Well, do we actually need it? For the Toyota process, they talked about if they didn't use a piece of equipment in 6 months, got rid of it. That's tough. But they also were very rigid of when they bought equipment. They didn't buy something because they thought they needed it. It was very rigid. My previous place, we had a lot of R&D people there. They had unlimited budget. My old warehouse was full of R&D equipment that they were never going to use. So we just started red tagging and saying, hey, what are you going to do with it? They bought 2 of something they're never going to use. Keep one of them at least, see what you can do with the other thing. But just those are the opportunities. And don't be afraid. Like Donna said, start small and just start asking those questions. And you don't have to be perfect. It's just working your way, towards the end goal, right?
Are there any ideas from anyone after going through this? What would you want to 5S first? After seeing what it can do.
Storage room.
An office.
Storage room.
Storage room.
Yep.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And it can be done anywhere. Just at your own desk. You can do your car, food pantry, anything you can think of. But just going through the process of this and learning how to do a 5S. If it's at your house, it's sort of a fun thing to do. But just going through this with a small thing first, it'll help you figure out how to do a bigger project later.
That's your homework project. You have 2 weeks to 5S something. Be sure you take before and after pictures of it, okay? And then we'll meet back in 2 weeks and we'll go over those and kind of talk about what we found and what we discovered as we went through it. And then as a team, we can come up with suggestions to help sustain and improve those areas that you 5S'd, okay?